Mr. Robinson won't be here today, so he asked me if I would chair this meeting, so I will require probably some assistance on protocol. Have you never done this before?
Yes, we have the majority. We have to, with silence, we have.
So-
Are we live?
Yes, so Ashley, are you want to call the roll?
Yes. Oscar Robinson. Steve Davis. Preston Elkins,
Here.
Mike Davidson,
Here.
Tom DeWitt.
Here.
Okay, Ashley, is this something that you're gonna field, this discussion of the top user accounts?
I think you have the wrong one, Mike.
No, that's what you.
I'm
should have.
sorry, that's the minutes, I'm sorry.
No, I sent the correct one yesterday. It was, the wrong one was applied.
Okay. I'm reading the wrong paper. Yeah, I was reading the minutes. Let's
Okay.
Chris, what is?
Gonna have a repeat performance.
Say that is.
Okay, we have a approval of those minutes.
Yes.
So do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, so that's done. We can go to the action and discussion items. First up is a discussion about EPCOR. And in the last meeting of the Water Advisory Group, the group determined that it wanted to provide a recommendation to this Public Works Committee to take to the City Council the desire to request EPCOR make an evaluation and a presentation to the City Council and the general public for the services and benefits that they could provide our community regarding water management, if they so desire. I don't know if this requires another discussion or if we could just take that recommendation and go directly to motion. But I know that I would like to make a motion that we recommend the next city council involves a discussion about EPCOR. So procedures, yes, Chief.
And Eldon may have more on this, but I do believe we have what are we calling it? A workshop that will be scheduled. It doesn't require council action.
Okay,
With the desire of this committee, we will follow through with that to have that workshop and include council and put out the appropriate notice of potential quorum and so on, if that's the desire of the committee.
okay. So does
Is that
that,
on the 22nd? Is that right?
yes, 1 p.m. So is this a done deal as far as public works goes? Does it require anything from us?
I mean, I think it would look better as far as procedurally if y'all agreed to that and approved that.
Or do we have a motion to do just what I just said?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Done deal. I wanted to just touch base for 1 second on, we have had 3 tours. And I wanted to bring it up in Public Works because this is the venue that gets publicized to the public. They can watch. And not so much the Water Advisory Group. But the first tour was to the well field conducted by Chris Mendoza and Eric Duran. And I wanted to make a few comments about that, just briefly, so that the public can know kind of what several of us have been up to. We went out there on 2 different trips they hosted. Personally, I did not see a leak of any shape, form, or fashion in that entire area. It was pretty well kept. We were shown the well system. We had the advantage of watching one of the well people refurbish a well, which included taking out the scale and the sediment, acidizing it, cleaning it, in which they refurbished the pumps. So that was kind of a benefit. We talked about a SCADA system and the benefit that it possibly would provide our water department, being able to both remotely control and remotely get data. While we were touring that facility, we kind of had a light bulb moment, knowing that the city has been approved to build a 3 million gallon storage tank, elevated storage tank. Original location thrown around was that industrial park. And it kind of came to us that why not build that storage tank in the well field? Because at some point in time, part of the process ultimately is going to be building a storage tank in the well field as a booster station. So we kind of saw an opportunity to, and a booster station would help pump that water, 7 miles from the well field to the Johnson tanks, possibly increasing the efficiency. It would not change the overall storage of the city, and it would kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So at any rate, that was the well field tour. We then took a tour of Roosevelt County Electric Co-op. It started with a presentation by Eric Segovia of the co-op SCADA system. Now, SCADA is Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. In a nutshell, this gives the co-op the capability of monitoring and controlling their entire service grid remotely. Please kick in if I give any wrong information on that. The implications are huge. In the case of the co-op, there's the safety issue. If one of their workers got injured or a down power line, they could automatically shut this off in a matter of milliseconds. And it also allows them to help make critical decisions, providing electricity service, managing service interruptions. And we also were able to see a different software program called ArcGIS, I believe, or ArcGIS. And that shows how their electric grids could be designed and modified using 3D terrain. Information allowed for the best decisions, so they didn't have to, it wasn't trial and error. They can make critical decisions on the fly with their 3D software. These type of digital advances, I think, would be very beneficial to our city, especially considering we pretty much remain in an understaffed situation. It takes a full day to drive the well field. So anything that we could do to automate some of those systems, I feel like is going to be a big improvement. I realize that electricity is man-made and water is nature-made, but still the same applications I think would apply. And also noted that Roosevelt County Electric offered both their knowledge and assistance to us. So much appreciated, and I think it will wind up being an important factor. Lastly, we went to the wastewater treatment plant, Randy Poe. This was also hosted by Chris Mendoza and Eric Duran. It was an eye-opening experience. We saw that we get about 1.2 million gallons of raw sewage per day. There is an 11.4 million gallon retention pond on the premise. Another one, same capacity at Industrial Park. There is a water pump. We discovered that, or we were advised, there is a bottleneck at the outward pump at a capacity of 700 gallons a minute. And that maintains 80 pounds pressure on the purple hydrant system that we have. And we were advised that there is a bottleneck at that point. They are dumping 3 million gallons a day into a non-lined pond just to level out the lined ponds. And there appeared to be, although the plant is very nice and there's a lot of advanced elements, there also appeared to be some design flaws in that system. And it also appeared that we waited a long time to attempt to hold those designers and contractors liable. It's something that obviously should have been monitored while it was being built. So at any rate, it was a good experience. All three of those tours were a good experience. I think they benefit the city. Definitely appreciate Chris and Eric taking their time to show us those things, and in some cases more than once. So hopefully that gets the public updated. Would you guys like to add anything to those, your evaluation of those tours?
I thought it was great, a lot of information.
Yes.
I wish we could follow that up and actually give all of that information out. Specifically, I think people would gain a better knowledge of not only how the system works, but how our guys work.
Yeah, it was
And gals.
eye-opening. It's not something you want to do before you go eat at burger at the restaurant, but anyways. So next up would be Tom wants to talk about, these contractor bags you've got here.
Yeah, still battling the alley problem and the dumping, so on and so forth. I'm gonna pick on Preston here for a second. I noticed that he had a trailer backed up to his tree that he done a lot of trimming this week. I think there again, I think if we give people an option, I think they're gonna pick the better option. I purchased this bag right here, which is a 600-gallon bag for $30. I'm gonna need some information from Steve about weight of the brush truck, when the brush truck's available. If it can handle a bag like this, what do you think?
Well,
Have you seen it?
It's kind of thing.
Yeah, it'll pick it up. But most of the stuff that's in the alley ain't gonna fit in that bag. You got couches, you got
No, I agree. Well, a couch will fit in that bag.
limbs and but who's gonna take the time to put a couch in that bag?
Well, there again, like I said, I think if we provided an option, a better way to do things, that maybe, I believe most people would find a better way to do things. I think if we purchase that bag at $30 is what I paid for it, we could probably get a much better rate if we ordered in bulk. And when the city purchases the bags, and then when somebody comes in to get a bag, charge them, say $60 and throw a little bit of money towards the process, $60 is not a bad idea. If that's sitting outside in their alley, they can pile their debris in it. And I'm gonna get the best out of my money. I'm gonna break them limbs down to where they'll fit in there so I can get more stuff in there. And when they come and pick it up, if there's $60 into that bag and pickup versus going down to the cheapest trailer that I saw, if a person doesn't have access to a trailer, the cheapest trailer I saw is $25 a day. They've got to load that trailer. They've got to haul this way. They're just putting it in the bag, and there again, it provides an option to do things the right way. And I still support the idea. If we find them doing it the wrong way, we charge them the maximum penalty. We hit them with that $500 fine, which is a lot cheaper than the $60 bag.
That'd be a good concept, but how many people are gonna actually do it when you tell them they gotta pay for the bag?
Well,
Those
Versus,
people, you tell them you gotta pay for something.
versus a $500 fine. I would still think that, I mean, it's something to try. We're not trying anything else. You're spending, I don't know how many hundreds of man hours cleaning up alleys.
Quite a bit.
It's worth the option of, throwing the option out there to see if we can get, I mean, it works in other places. That's why Waste Management has the option out there. A lot of, and we can get 300. We can get 300-gallon bags. This is a 6. We can get 300-gallon bags. If, depending on the person's project. Like I said in the past, I went down an alley and saw remnants of my back porch from a contractor, where him or whoever he hired to haul the trash away. I found my back porch in an alley and it pissed me off. Excuse me.
70% of the junk in the alleys come from contractors, but if you can't catch them throwing it.
Could I interject a question here?
Sure.
Is this in lieu of those big metal contractor dumpsters? Is this something you do complementary to that or
I think
instead
it
of
could-
that?
I think it could be complimentary in conjunction with,
Yeah. And are those big metal ones that I see them put by houses, are those city owned?
Those are private companies that rent them up.
Okay,
There's a place out of Lubbock that provides a lot of here in Portales.
And to do it, and there's like 4 different companies that rents.
and so I'm assuming then that answers the question, because I was assuming that if we already had the equipment to pick one of those things up.
No.
So we don't, so that eliminates that.
Well, and that process, that procedure right there, I believe is a couple of $100.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at less than $100,
And where do you plan on getting the money to buy those?
What's that?
What plan do you got to get the money to buy those?
Well, I guess that's what we'll have to work on next, but I mean, until we toss the idea around and find out what it's gonna cost, then we find out if we can get the money. And I'd say, based on your argument, not as a negative term, but based on your argument, I say if we bought half a dozen of them and tested the waters, we'd have to get some information out there and in print or video or whatever and let people know what we got, but start with a half a dozen of them. That's not I invested $30 in that one and I will probably wind up using that one. But I think there again, it's an option to combat the problem as opposed to the status quo, which is your guys having to pick it up.
I think it's gonna be difficult for buying. If people have the option to legally dump by their dumpsters, they're gonna choose that over going to spend $40 on the bag. And
And then how you gonna-
that's just the reality. I mean, I don't know how we can. Get.
How are you
them
gonna
to buy
verify
this.
what's in the bag without having to dump the bag out?
How do we verify what's in the dumpsters? I'm sorry, I hate answering a question with the question, and I apologize. But it would be about the same process. I can throw a microwave, I can throw a big bag of Quikrete, which I've seen where people left their Quikrete out and it's gotten wet and now it's an 80-pound weight. Goes in the bottom of a dumpster, then we lift the dumpster up and blows the bottom out. There again, I'm just back to the position of, I think it would, I think the attempt, no more than it would cost. Would, if it would work, if we could get 6 people to use one, that's 6 times your guys don't have to go to an alley and clean up. But I appreciate your thoughts, I do.
And it's worth the buy if we can get some, but I agree with Preston that if they got a choice of just throwing it next to the dumpster, putting the bag, they're gonna throw it next to the dumpster.
I agree, but we need to put some teeth on our ordinances and go through with it. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I thought I was loud enough.
Sorry, Steve.
But we do, we need to put some teeth on our ordinances and follow through with it, I called in one time and I called in one time about a big old mess by a dumpster. In 30 seconds, I opened a bag and I found the name, address and phone, well, not phone number of the person responsible for that mess. But when we're going down the alleys, the city. When they get them calls, if they're not going out to find out who threw the trash there and there's no enforcement, you know. I know you guys are busy. I'm not beating you up there, but it's, there again, I'm providing an option maybe to make you less busy.
For clarity, are you suggesting that the city pay for these bags and you're suggesting that the residents pay for these bags? Is that right?
Well, he kind of mentioned in order to help fund the project, the city goes and purchases 10 of them. And then we as the residents go say, hey, I'll buy one and you may have a markup on it to help pay for that project.
Yeah, to help pay for the pickup, absolutely.
But I don't foresee people wanting to do that. I mean, I wish they would, I'm with you. But
If you didn't have access to a trailer this weekend, they're again picking on you. If you didn't have access to a trailer, but you had access to
well, what I
this,
cut down wouldn't have fit in a 1,000-gallon bag. I mean, I cut down a 20-foot tree, that would just rip that.
I don't know, these things are pretty durable. Waste
Well,
Management's got it going on. They've
My
been doing
point
this
is,
a while.
I would have to either pay a contractor to come cut that tree down, or I'd have to figure out how to get a trailer myself, but that's me taking responsibility for what I cut down.
Well, absolutely.
I could just go stick it in the alley, which somebody came and put 3 huge logs behind my fence. I mean, it is what it is. I stacked it weekly, but they're still there. So I just don't foresee people being proactive and picking up after themselves in this manner. I wish they would. I'm on the same page as you.
For no more the cost, would it not be an option to try something different to add to what we already have?
I'm all in on trying. And I know that we could probably get somebody to donate and buy 10 bags. I don't think funding it will be an issue. But I just don't foresee them being utilized in the way that we want them to be. But I'm all in on trying.
The cost factor of those bags seems very reasonable, but could we revert to Steve to try to determine initially, at least, the impact that it would have on the city, whether it makes his job harder or easier? I would trust what you have to say. If it's something that would help you, I could see us going forward with this idea. If you think that it's going to hinder you, I really think we have to refer to your opinion.
I
That's
don't think it's really gonna help.
okay.
It's gonna be about the same.
Okay.
Because first of all, if they were willing to use the bag, they wouldn't even throw it inside the dumpster. Yeah. They would dispose of it.
Okay.
So they're not gonna throw it out there and decide to go pick it back up.
Well, and respectfully, it sounds like the initial start process for all this would be to shore up the ordinance to ensure that there's the appropriate penalty that the committee finds. Then we can look for solutions after that gets resolved.
Yeah, and I'm sure that we already have ordinance in place that help prohibit illegal dumping. And I'm sure there's penalties, but somebody's got to enforce that. And I really don't know that y'all have the manpower and the time to go enforce all of the illegal dumping. So that's just a burden that's on you guys. I mean, that.
And most of the dumpsters have the ordinance.
Yeah, I was gonna say that,
But
yeah.
no one pays attention to it. Just like any other law, they're gonna pay attention to it, they will, if they're not, they're not.
Right.
Yes.
You know, this is one of the issues that we talked about earlier. And I still believe we need to come up with a promotion plan to get to the kids in the community, to get to their parents, to understand what the dumping is. And we was going to work on that and trying to come up with a logo or a symbol where we can take it, kind of like the fire department doing with the fire kids, you know, your little red hats, go to the schools, and like the police department. So I think that we need to look into that and start an educational program so that we can kids take that kind of message home if you involved. And maybe the cans, maybe the trash cans would be one of the things that we can get to the kids, and then they say, Mom, Dad, put this in the trash, maybe. But we need to start a marketing plan on that if we're gonna do something like that. And I think that we were supposed to be coming up with some kind of Smokey the Bear symbol
Mm.
is to be, you understand?
Mhm.
But we haven't came up with an idea yet, and I still think that's the key, is have a promotional program through our schools.
Chris,
Steve has a question.
okay, go ahead.
What's
Are
that?
we still, along with what Tom's saying there, are we still looking at ways to extend hours or anything to make the convenience center easier for people to use?
Well, right now, we're open 6 days a week, 8 to 5. Or 8 to 4:30.
8 to 4:30.
And then it's free on certain
Every
days,
Tuesday.
there, every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday.
So what hours would you be talking about, Steve?
Well, most people, when they're gonna be able to clean up their properties, it's gonna be after work and it's gonna be in the morning on Saturday. And most of the time after work, the convenience center's closed, you can't dump. And Saturday mornings until noon, the last time I checked, it was closed. Is that true?
No, it's Monday through Saturday, 8 to 4:30.
Okay, so that has changed on Saturday mornings then.
Yes, we are only closed on Sundays.
Yeah, I understand that. I don't have a problem with that, but it was a problem when it was closed in the mornings on Saturday and, you know, if we had, and I know this has been discussed before, and I don't know why it wasn't looked at, but if we had a roll-off sitting there where people could dump when they're cleaning up after work, that would be great.
Another idea, would it be an option to have summer hours, and say, change the convenience center hours to 10 to 6:30, instead of the 8 to 4:30 in order to help extend during the workday during the summer months? Is that a possibility or is that gonna be a burden on?
That's something we can look at.
Okay, that might just ease up some of the issues that are there, that won't add any time, you just shift it to those workers.
And I'm not suggesting this in place of what Tom's saying with the bags or anything else. I just think we need every opportunity we can for, if people are willing to clean up and haul it off, just to have somewhere for them to take it.
Well, to Oscar's point, you know, early March, we talked about a water conservation program in the schools. Later in March, we talked about fire prevention issues regarding the Panhandle fires. Now we're talking about educating them on trash. So maybe a lot of that could be combined in just one presentation for the kids, because one thing I do agree is the best way to get to the parents is through the kids in these issues. They are pretty good patrols of their parents, turn that water off or throw that in the dumpster or whatever. They pretty much let them know those things. So maybe that could be something we could combine. I do know that Miss McVeigh is working on some type of a grant to bring the water program to the schools. She had let me know about that. So maybe those things could be combined. Anything else on the trash baggies?
Trash bags.
I guess not.
Well, yes,
Those are gonna be disposable, correct? I mean, if someone's gonna purchase them, I can see them having the thought, you're gonna return that back and so I can reuse it, you know, and I don't think that's an option.
No.
No,
It'll take longer to empty it than.
Yeah,
pick it
too
up.
many man hours to empty it.
It'd have to be noted that once they did purchase that, it's gonna be a disposable bag, you're not getting it back.
Correct.
so in essence, you're paying a $30 fee.
Well, still, you're in, there again, you're investing. Let's say we doubled the price of this bag here, you're investing $60 in being able to take that debris, construction debris. Home trash, clean out my garage, my wife's been yelling at me. Get it all in the bag right there, and somebody else comes and grabs it and takes off with it. As opposed to going out, filling up my dumpster full of boxes and and debris because you're doing spring cleaning out of your garage or whatever. And now we have no place for the household garbage bags, you know? I just
But
think
another
that-
thing you gotta look at is it fair to the chief to go buy a bag? Throws his stuff away. But then here comes Chris to dump all his stuff next to the chief's dumpster.
I
And it's
I
still,
agree
it's the
with-
same, but
I
they're
agree
gonna
with that.
assume, well, the chief did it because it's his dumpster. Because we got people at 5 o'clock in the morning dumping trash in the alleys.
I understand. I understand. I just think as opposed to the status quo. A little bit of a different avenue to go down as opposed to the same avenue we're going down. Because the one that we're going down right now is not working. It ain't working at all. This is gonna give an option, somebody spends $60 on a bag plus pickup. And they're doing the right thing. If the neighbor's not doing the right thing, I cannot control what my neighbor is doing. I don't have that legal authority.
But you know, the only problem you have with promoting contractors' bags, people right now can buy those bags. At Walmart and True Value, they sell.
Yeah.
So I don't know why we as the city have to. I hate to see government get involved with a lot of things like this. But anyway, it makes sense that we can promote them to go get the bags. They're available. They're not unavailable. Contracted bags.
But what about the pickup, Oscar? That's
what
what
I'm
I'm talking about, the
He's
trying to say, add a service
Service to the bag.
It's a bag.
You're paying for the additional
There's a service.
just to help.
When you buy that bag, you get logged in. When you get the bag full, you call them, say, hey, my bag's full. And they say, okay, what's your name? Oh, okay, here you are right here. And then we'll send the truck out and pick it up.
So, first of all, I appreciate trying to look outside the box and to solve this problem. Would it be feasible to find a company that would agree that there could potentially be quite a bit of business to be had in Portales and promote this as a fully privatized setup where the city literally has nothing to do with it? It's like, I mean,
Yeah, like waste management and.
Buy your
we are
bag.
we are not, so waste management, to answer your question real quick, waste management has in their instructions here, exactly how to go about that.
okay,
And, but we are so small and so rural that we do not fit geographically in their pickup lane. So we would have to incorporate someone else to do that. And
let's give this some more thought. If it didn't impact the city in any way and only benefited them, I can't see how it would hurt. But if it's gonna be a problem for the city, require man hours and expenses, then it is gonna require further discussion or ideas.
I agree with the maybe requiring further discussion, but on the point of man hours, I really feel that if we got 10 people to use this, that it's gonna reduce his man hours
Mhm.
in that alley.
Mhm.
Because he doesn't have to have guys go in there with equipment, with shovels, with rakes. And maybe when people started seeing people use them, it would be infectious and they would want to do the same.
Could be.
I think that our people are better than we sometimes put out there.
Let's not throw away the idea. Let's just look at it further and see. See if the city can benefit from it. And that's the whole point. You know, also if we were able to get that trash transfer station, hopefully that's gonna free up the city maintenance time as well. And so between those things, more time might be able to be spent working on the alleys and such. So efficiency in every area is what we're striving for. The most efficient way to keep the alleys clean, the most efficient way to get rid of our trash. So it'd be okay to keep investigating and researching?
Sure, I don't
And
know.
discussing?
I don't know how we move forward with that part, but you know, I mean, on this kind of committee, I just don't know how it works, but, yeah, I
Let's not give up on it, but let's move on into the meeting. Next up was, and I see my name on it, but actually I was just reminding Ashley that we had a discussion of the high-end users. And I think that conversation was not complete. And I actually think this is more of a Preston. I see my name on it, but that was just a reminder to put it on the agenda. So if you.
Well, I'll give somewhat of an update there, Mike.
Okay.
For one of our high users for our industrial load, the mayor, myself, I believe Chris and Chief have a meeting set up for the 21st. Are you not gonna attend that one?
I was not asked to attend.
Okay, well,
So
maybe it's just.
if I need to, I'll be glad
Okay.
to, but
I didn't know who all,
Yeah.
you sent the email, so I just,
he just asked me to do the invite.
okay. So we've got a tour of their system and trying to get a better idea of how they can help conserve. But as far as any of the other high-end residential users, I know y'all had talked about looking into them to see if there were leaks or what happened on that, but do we have any update as far as those, other than our industrial load?
As far as when I spoke with Catherine about it, it was, a lot of them were leaks in that time frame that I did give, which was February and March, I believe. And, just, getting those leaks as quickly as possible and getting them maintained, that's kind of where we're at right now, so.
When is our reading dates? What are our reads through for our billing cycle?
They're pretty vigorous throughout the month, just depending on when their route is and when they're done between the month of, or every month.
And they bill a month behind.
Yeah, we're always a month behind, so we bill we just got our bills just this last week or whatever, so that was for
March, as you said?
March, yes.
Okay.
So we bill from half of February and half of March, and then the next bill that will come out will be half. Of
Right,
March.
that's what I was asking. The billing cycle, it'd be like the 15th to the 15th, and it's just a month behind.
Mhm.
Okay.
And on that committee, the meeting, is it possible that we ask the chair of the advisory water committee or someone from that committee to be at that meeting too? Because they're trying to advise us on processes. So I would like for them, one of them to attend that meeting. I don't know who,
This was a meeting that I was invited to, so I can
Who-
sure ask the mayor.
the mayor, will you ask the mayor if we could have a member from the water advisory committee on them? Because how can they advise, they need to be involved with all of this.
Well, I don't think this isn't us going in there telling
No,
the
that's
industry
me,
what.
but you're going to get data, right?
No, it's just a plant tour to
Oh,
learn,
plant tour.
learn their processes and see
Okay,
why they
okay.
use what they use.
I guess
It's
I
not
mis-
anything,
I misunderstood what the purpose of the meeting was.
it's very similar to the well field tour, the wastewater tour,
Okay.
just informational. I don't know that anything would be accomplished from it other than information.
What
I'll mention that too.
what I'm trying to get to is, we seem to go around processes a lot. And we got a water advisory committee, anything dealing with water, I would think they ought to be involved with. That's all I'm saying. And may not be intent, I guess you guys already been out there.
To,
Tour the water welfare, at least
Yes.
tour the well.
yes,
Right.
So I don't see why one of them can't go with this meeting.
so anything else? Preston, regarding the high-end users, sounds like y'all got that under control.
Sounds like it.
Okay,
quick question. How many industrial users do we have? One,
One.
okay.
okay.
That's what I just wanted to clarify that.
So
A lot of people are-
how do we classify university and the hospital and the school?
Bertal schools and ENMU are under public schools, and the hospital is just
So they're not considered high-end users.
mm,
Why?
Well, they would be on a different rate.
Yeah, they're on a
The
different.
industrial rate would be a for-profit business.
Okay,
The
other,
the hospital would just be on their general commercial rate, I would assume. And it would go into the demand of it and how much they're actually requesting. But schools are in a cost plus rate,
okay.
billed separate.
Okay, Thomas, you had something on here about the skate park?
You didn't want to say pump park, did you?
No, I didn't, because I don't know what that is.
I sent you a link to what.
I
pump
know,
park is.
but
Pump part.
They
the
don't,
pump park.
they don't
Thomas?
use their pedals. They
Okay,
just use their momentum and the track to gain their speed. So after I had requested this to be put on the agenda, I should have done this first, but I talked to Joe. And she said that she's working on something on that, unless there's an update. I know that she's not here this morning. She's working on the Outer Banks right there. And she's thinking relatively quick, but we got a lot of wind. If we get much rain, that's gonna wash away. But apparently that didn't get figured into the initial project. But she's working on it. She's got some ideas and she's vigorously working on it after I requested that information. And I was also looking at lights as well, so do we know of any updates there on lights or
We're getting quotes on them.
what's that?
We're getting quotes on them.
Oh, okay, cool. And I guess she's looking at funding through some additional grants or something like that for the lighting?
Correct.
Okay, so that's about it. Just she's looking at a couple of grants, one to help with the Outer Banks of the park and one for the lighting. So
For the record, I'd like to publicly state that I've asked the chief of police to visit with the city manager, and I think that we need to also consider restraint. That park is not even viable. It's not even, haven't been even finished. And I guess because of promotion and people using it prior, we told them they could use it. We have put the city at risk.
did we ever say that? I'm just questioning.
No.
We never told anybody they could use it. They just started using it.
And
I'm not debating. This is what I've heard. And if it's not true, then it's not true. The point is, we need to shop some kind of way to let the public know the park is not open. And even if they're out there, if the case they're using it, then we need to restrain them from using it.
But why is it not open?
okay, quick question.
Because it's not finished.
Has the contractor released it?
Yeah,
Has the
The only
contract?
thing that's not done is the outside. If we're
It's
gonna
not
stop
finished.
that, then
the
we
point
gotta
I'm
put up a
saying,
fence and block it off completely.
the point is, the skate park is not open. It's not finished.
Has
And if it's not finished, it should be restrained.
Has the contractor released the park?
They will this week.
So they haven't. So,
They haven't.
so up until that point, it's contractor responsibility for the construction side, correct?
That's what I.
Well, it's gonna be on, I would say that it should be on the contractor to make sure that
Well-
the areas. Well, I mean,
Well, let's don't assign blame.
no,
We're
I'm not,
saying that the park is not open.
I'm not saying to assign blame, but I think liability is on the contractor. You know, whether he put up a proper fence or not and how he done it.
Well,
But
it falls on the city too. Because we are the city, it's our project, we should not have let the kids on the park, and if they own it, we should.
I somewhat agree. Yeah.
And speeding a ticket, you get a ticket.
Yes, sir.
So if you're violating the ordinance, then you get a ticket. So what I'm saying is that we should have and should continue to stop people from using the park. Now, if they wanna use it on their own risk, then have them sign a form, say, I hurt myself.
We got signs up to say you're using it at your own risk.
But when we do that, we've just told them it's okay to,
We just
To be
said it's
there.
okay to use it.
so.
They're using it anyway, so. no matter
Well,
what happens-
catch 22, I guess.
Well, and council directed Steve and his department to put those signs up.
Right.
so after this week, it's not gonna be an issue, right?
Should, once, it's either this week or next week, we're gonna come do the final walkthrough and we sign off on it or we don't.
You know.
But the Outer Banks was not part of the project, so we can't hold that against them,
Right.
And hold that against whom?
the contractor.
The contractor.
There is a spot on there. I don't know if you saw it or not with that, the inner green liner, not the asphalt.
They'll be back this week to fix that.
Okay.
All right, so, next up, we had I wanted to discuss meeting frequency, goals of Public Works Committee. Mr. Robinson, last, meeting, said something, that you did not want this committee to be a working committee. And I wanted some, clarification on that. Me being green, I thought Public Works meant working for the public, so.
Okay. What I said, and I'll say it repeated, I don't think the Public Works Committee should be one dictating to departments' work that they should be doing. We should bring recommendations from them. They should come to the Public Works Committee, stating their projects, and if that generates a conversation that, well, what about like Public Works on the skate park? What are you doing? Well, we're doing this. So I think that a lot of times people come in, they want to micromanage, and I'm worried about micromanaging the departments. And I think that the departments have a continual work. They try to do work in the city to take care of the city, like potholes. I like to see a report from Steve saying we've done 100 potholes. I see them every day. They taking care of that. And they should give us a progress report, as you was talking earlier. And then if that's something that we really want to have them to look into, give them an opportunity to look into it and then come back with a report. And that's simple what I meant.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I don't think Public Works or the city council or the mayor or anybody should micromanage the city departments. At the same time, we've covered a lot of ground in the Public Works meetings with, I mean, we've talked property tax, GRT tax, software for the city, the SCADA systems, how the water funds, the 21.5 million or 20.5 or 21.5, and the 500,000 were going to be spent. We talked about the dumpster updates when we got some bigger dumpsters, transfer stations. So, I mean, I'm not seeing these as micromanaging anybody, but rather discussing.
I don't think that they are micromanaging. When you come to a public meeting and you say, well, they're not fixing the potholes, that's a valuation statement.
Mhm.
And it's a value statement saying that the street department is not taking care of the potholes.
Okay.
And then if that supervisor said the street department is we'll take care of potholes, we just up here and just evaluated the street department, which we should not be doing.
Okay.
That's my point. A lot of our statements are incendiary to a point that if you go and say the water department is not managing the water, you need some reports on that.
Right.
So my point is that we need to be careful how we talk down to with the public utility departments, and be careful not micromanaging them by telling them they're not doing a certain job.
So is it safe to say that you're kind of just like warning us, but have we actually done those things?
I'm basically warning.
Okay,
Yeah.
we haven't done that.
No.
Okay,
As a chair, I'm assuming that I will not let that happen.
okay, excellent. That's one of the clarifications. The other thing I kind of wondered about was scooting these meetings to once a month. The reasoning for that in light of how many things we are dealing with as a city. What is the reasoning for that? Is that the right thing to do? I know you suggested it, so obviously you think it's the right thing to do.
I suggest because I think that, being honest, I think Ashley, and probably being nice and quiet about it, but I think too many meetings don't give them a chance to accomplish anything.
Okay.
And I think maybe once a month is not, maybe we can break it to twice a month. But the point is having meeting every, like we was doing every week, almost every week, it's not really good.
Okay, I thought we were meeting every 2 weeks. I was meeting every week, but one of them was water advisory, then public works,
No,
then
we was
water
meeting-
advisory.
We was meeting pretty close to every week.
Okay.
And I just saying the frequency of that, they don't give them an opportunity to do nothing.
Steve,
The monthly report does state where we did potholes and where we cleaned gutters and all that stuff.
Steve gives a good detailed monthly report. I've read
Yeah.
his monthly reports and I think. Quite honestly, I haven't read any of Chris's, but last year, whenever I was really looking into things. Steve probably had the best reports and it should be modeled off of his reports.
I don't put the actual numbers of potholes, but we put the areas that. we
And-
did.
I know when you moved a file cabinet from the old place to the new place, you were telling us what your people were doing and what you accomplished, and I really appreciated your reports.
And I'm not saying Steve reports are not accurate.
No,
That is
I just-
What I want.
I just wanted to- I wanted to throw it-
I want to clear it up, because you tie that into our discussion there. And my point is, hit the potholes, you can go down the streets and see that the potholes are being taken care of.
Right,
Automatically.
right. That wasn't an attack on you. It was just
Okay, it was just-
emphasizing
But that's,
Steve.
that's what I'm talking about. Our statements sometimes need to be directed to the point. No one was making a negative statement about the report made by the Public Works Street Department. And that's
Sorry
all
about that. I
I'm
just
saying.
saw a chance to
Well, you.
make a comment. I apologize.
Kudos
don't
to-
make me use this hammer.
I apologize.
Kudos to him for doing good work.
Well, and that's what I was doing.
Okay.
So at any rate, is that what we're gonna do? Meet once a month, every 2 weeks?
It's up to you.
Yeah.
Can I make a statement?
Yeah.
I think until we get through this water situation that we're in, it needs to be held in conjunction with the Water Advisory Committee meetings. Because anything, and this happened recently in a council meeting, anything that happens in the first committee, if the Public Works is not supporting that, we're gonna leapfrog Public Works, exactly what we done, and it's gonna go to council. So if Councilman Merrick has something very important that he needs to put out in the Water Advisory Committee, we're better 2 weeks, 3 weeks before it gets to council. And I think it needs to be in conjunction with the Water Advisory Committees
How often do they meet?
every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
I
I
felt
think we
also
were
that-
following them, so there was a water advisory on Mondays and we met on Tuesdays to follow it up.
Advisory meeting is the 13th.
So if you want to, we do that. Ashley, would that put too much pressure on your departments?
We have to get it done, we will.
Uh,
Said if we have to get it done, we will.
so she got the water advisory, then she turned around and had Public Works and then council meeting is what, the next week, right?
Should we-
Council
Should we put
meeting
about a
on
3-day
the
gap? I'm sorry, Ashley.
Well, let's Ashley give us her recommendation.
I know at one point that y'all said if we had water advisory, y'all didn't have enough time to do it the next meeting on the day behind. So if we did the meeting later in the week to give, some time for y'all to have some discussion come up in regards to what happened in the water advisory to Public Works and give it at least a few days, maybe
And-
from Monday to Thursday,
And then be able to take it to council
Well,
on the next.
the issue is let's say that it falls in a week that you have a council meeting, the agenda has to go out on what, Wednesday?
It's
The
And so you
council-
have-
2 hours.
Agenda or
So you have to meet
This
prior to the
Yeah.
agenda coming out, otherwise you're waiting another 2 weeks. It's kind of you have to meet the window if you're gonna wanna pass things through the committees. And there are issues that arise that, for example, the last meeting that Tom mentioned, we didn't have a Public Works meeting, so there was no option to take it to, otherwise we're waiting until
To the
middle of
next
May.
week, yeah.
And so that really limits what input the Public Works Committee can have in doing that and having it in a monthly meeting.
Well, can we meet a deadline by meeting 3 days, two days or 3 days after the advisory committee?
well, with this next meeting that's coming up, it's kind of pointless, but I would say if we just follow. Honestly, I don't know, with the way that the meetings are planned out right now, it's kind of. Diverse, you can't really justify anything that's gonna happen between any of them.
Well, we're sitting up there with the chair of the advisory committee, he ought to tell us what he wants. Should we meet closer?
I think I actually thought what we were doing was working pretty good. I mean, it was a tight window sometimes, even if we scooted it by one day. Christine pointed out something to me a long time ago is we can have a slot because you folks have all kinds of schedules, plans and appointments. We can always have a slot made for one of these meetings. If we don't have any content, I don't think it's gonna be a big deal to cancel one of these meetings. You know, it happens if we don't have a quorum, so. You know, I think it's important, especially, I mean, civic issues, we got quite a few going on right now. You know, trash, this, that.
Water.
Water,
And if the-
water's enough alone to meet every 2 weeks.
But it another form would be, proper form would be that if there was something the advisory committee want to go to the council, you guys would set that on the agenda.
Right.
And we can meet. That seemed to be the process we need to follow. If the board of advisory committee have something they need to approve by the city council, we should get it on the public works committee and have a meeting on that and vote on it, whether we'll present it to the council or not.
Are you talking about a special public works meeting?
No,
Or-
just the 3-day deal.
Okay.
Yeah, because other than that, it's gonna be hard to take 2 hours of water advisory and
Right,
funnel it into 1 hour of public works,
Right.
plus talk trash,
trash
roads,
and
etc.
park.
So let's go back to the every other week meetings for both the water advisory committee and the public works committee. And put however many days in between them that works for Ashley.
Okay, let Ashley, call that shot.
Absolutely.
I gotta make
Hey,
a new
you're on the
phone
hot
shop.
Huh?
Because you're the one that it affects the
You're on
most.
the hot shot.
What, Christine? What was that next date again?
Okay, the water advisory is on the 13th. The 14th is council.
Mhm.
If you're gonna go to every other week, your next one would be the 21st, which would be a day before the agenda's due for the 28th.
Okay, so if the water advisory wants something on the agenda, then we need to hit that date.
Is there not a way, because council's, the second and fourth Tuesday, right?
Yes, sir.
Could you not?
That's what we
split
originally had.
And have it
We had
the
a
week in
5
between,
week, so advisory
to where the water advisory is the Monday before. Public Works is the Tuesday before, they get the agenda out on the Wednesday before. That way, it's split perfect with council.
Right.
Where you're never in the same week, where what we talk about the same day as a council meeting.
We had a 5-day week in a month, or 5 weeks in a month, so advisory kicked into
And odd.
It got us out of the
we
rotation.
got out of the rotation.
Rotation.
We could move the advisory to the 20th. And do a public works meeting on the 21st, and that would be an opposite week in preparation for the 28th council.
Okay.
Okay, let's do that.
Let's do
And
that,
then,
yeah.
and then moving forward for them 5 week months, why don't we just do it in conjunction with city council
Yeah,
meetings?
yeah.
So the weeks before, and then that way we don't throw it off rotation again.
I mean, with city council issue, if it was such a drastic emergency, I'm thinking they could modify that agenda within some window. I don't really-
72 hours.
Okay, I don't really see that happening, but if it was so important, we
Yeah.
do have a provision there to take care of that.
You can also hold a public works meeting pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Okay.
it could be, and if since the advisor is doing such a strong job in doing things, I mean, they're gonna come up with recommendation as we proceed, so I guess we need to not handcuff them. Let them have the opportunity to say, you want this done, you should do it.
It is, so you wanna go to the next item, cost analysis, we're like running out of time.
Right, so we talked about transfer station and everything, and we talked about going and visiting. And I don't know where we're at on all that, but I handed out a EPA cost analysis document a few meetings ago. I think before we go anywhere on transfer station, we've got to address that. I mean, it's actually what the EPA put in the very beginning of their document. So I think we need to set the ball rolling on doing that cost analysis.
Okay.
If we're really seriously thinking about, there again, talking trash. If we're seriously thinking about a transfer station, we've got to get the ball rolling. And that's gonna be the first step, I believe.
Well, and I will say that Joe's already putting in.
We submitted a grant.
We submitted a grant for that. There was a couple of council members that we put in letters of support for that, so the ball is already rolling on getting the transfer.
Transfer station, but
But what about the cost analysis? Is it gonna? Where are we at there? I mean, is it going to, I know she's putting. I don't know, just
one,
seems like we need to do a cost analysis to find out if it's gonna be, effective to even do it. I mean, we may be spinning our wheels.
one of the problems with the transfer station model that we're looking at. Think of the population of that. They don't have near the people that we have. So we have to be careful. I mean, we have to know that enforce on the transfer station. It's not a comparative for us. We know
Exactly, yes.
it's, a matter of fact, it looks clean and looks good because they have fewer people.
Same with Alto.
Yeah, and they're the same thing. So we need to multiply the population in that factor, you know, when we start looking at the price.
Right.
Well, let's definitely save that one for a discussion within itself.
Okay,
I don't think that one can get solved today.
no,
No, I don't think it can get solved today. I'm just saying, how can we move forward and who do we, point to
well,
start a cost analysis on whether we can afford a transfer station? And how much of a grant we're gonna need. So I feel like if we're already searching for grants, that we've got our cart in front of our horse. We don't have a comparative cost analysis, just what Oscar was just talking about. We need somebody to take that formula that the EPA provided for us and move forward. I don't know who to point to. I'm gonna look at Elvis for a minute, 'cause I don't know who to point to.
Well, and I would assume that would be the staff's ability to do those cost analysis. I don't think that's our
Yeah.
job as a committee.
no.
Okay,
To do that.
Yeah.
That would be their job, doing their due diligence to make sure that it is cost effective to do that.
back to
Okay.
his micromanagement.
Yeah, we're
There-
just here to
And-
say,
and-
hey, good job doing that. Way to get that grant in.
fine. I'd like to see that cost analysis when it's done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my point. I mean, we need to start somewhere.
All right, in other business, is there anyone that would like to speak regarding business that is not on this agenda or not known about?
Yes, we have Wilson and Company here to give an update on what they have come up with.
Yeah, so I'm Graham, I'm with Wilson and Company, and this is my coworker Ezra. We were hired by the city a while ago. Oh, microphone, all right.
Check 1, 2.
Yeah, we were hired by the city a little bit ago. To help analyze the distribution system, the water distribution system, so anything tanks down to meters. And we've been tasked with writing a report that kind of outlines, the goal of the report is to outline some infrastructure upgrades and possibly some reuse expansion to help the city with the water shortage problem in the distribution zone. So currently we have a water model that we've been working on using a computer software called Water Gems. That will model the system and allow you guys to see how the water system is functioning as a whole system with pressures and flows. And then that will be a big part of our report to kind of help outline critical upgrades. We can then use this report to go forward and materialize some of those upgrades. You can use the report to get some funding for it, and it's supposed to be a helpful tool in planning for the future of the waters.
So do you have this report now? Or is that something you're working on and gonna present to us?
It is something we're working on.
Okay,
Yes.
excellent.
We came into town at the beginning of this week to meet with. The people behind me, meet them in person for the first time and we're about to tour the reuse system after this. And kind of just get their input. So we don't have the report yet.
Excellent. Sounds very important. For clarity, when you say Wilson, this isn't Charles Wilson Group, right?
No,
Is this DBSNA?
it's not.
Okay.
We are Wilson and Company, engineers and architects. We are a medium to large size firm out of.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's not Charlie Wilson.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Our water hydraulics is Charlie Wilson, Dr. Wilson.
Yeah,
Yes, I read his reports.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah. I got thrown a curve trying to get that all sorted out. So,
We're currently in the data collection phase. So we are working with your public facilities office to get as much information as possible, talk to them and see what their problem areas are. Where they see any need for improvement in the system to make sure it works for them, as well as make sure it works for your population, so that they're not out of the loop either.
excellent. We appreciate your efforts. We need them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope you get the chance to
Yeah,
talk
me
to
too.
the Water Advisory Committee as well.
Okay.
Because they're working,
Always welcome.
always welcome to talk to them.
Okay.
Because the two of the members are here right now.
Yeah.
And
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy. to
three,
be here.
oh, I'm sorry. Who is
Really?
the third? Oh, three. I'm sorry, we had three of the members right here. Okay.
Did you say something else?
I was just gonna ask, do you have any kind of a time frame of when you expect some of this?
I wouldn't say we have a concrete time frame. It shouldn't take terribly long. How long did we have budgeted in there for?
Terribly long meaning 3 months or
Yeah,
18 months?
be like
Terribly long would be, yeah, like 18 months.
don't be like the contractor dug a hole and then, and leave.
We want to know.
No. I'll do it for the report, right?
Okay.
That's 6 months. in our current schedule.
From the time you were hired?
From the time that.
Technically, the schedule was started from the time we were hired. It has fallen out a little bit. Just the data collection part is taking a bit longer than anticipated, but that's very well on its way to the report writing should start soon. And so we should be probably. Yeah, 6 months up from here. I think it'd be a good deal.
Can I ask what type of data collection y'all are struggling with? What's the issue on that?
I wouldn't necessarily we're struggling with any data collection. We're just like the whole metering data and all of that we've been analyzing. Collecting topographic data for the water model, GIS data for the water model. So it's not that we're necessarily struggling with the data collection part. It's just it's a little longer than it's a phase.
There's a lot of data to compile.
Oh, absolutely.
It's been-
Yeah. No, I work at an electric utility, and so we just finished our model, so it's a time consuming process. So it's like-
Yeah, I got everything generated to them and I got it within a week of time frame. Whenever I was finally given the information to get to them. So I got it together as quickly as I could to get to them and, but again, words are not spoken to get the information out, of course, it's not gonna get generated.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they've been very responsive and very.
Oh, absolutely, cool.
Well, continue to work on it because this is a big issue in this town,
Yes.
in our community, water.
Yeah, no, this is my number one project.
Right.
So that's my full thing.
Prior to adjournment, I want to throw something out there just as a concept. Preston made me think about it at last council meeting when he stated that people don't like to be told what to do. And I 100% agree with that. I don't mind serving on jury duty. I know it's a necessary thing, but when they send me that little letter that says you are hereby ordered, and if you don't, you're going to be thrown in jail and fined, it kind of makes me see red. Kind of the rebel side kicking out. And I know that different times of water, we went through voluntary watering schedules and there's nothing wrong with that, but then they turn into mandatory and it kind of starts ticking people off. There's also a big difference in the words restriction and conservation. And I think some of these words kind of fuel the fire, as you were talking about. When Eldon and I were talking to the EPA people, one of the things they discussed was changing mindsets and changing the culture of things. And I would just like to throw a suggestion out there as we deal with and with these drought contingency plans, and we call these things stage 3 restrictions, stage 2 restrictions, we might consider changing that word to stage 3 conservation and stage 2 conservation. It is actually more a conservation measure than it is a restriction. And, you know, Ms. Parker keeps putting out that we need positive points and positive messages. And I do think it is a little bit more positive language. It's not something that we need to do today. And based on majorities, if people don't agree with it, it's not something we have to do at all. But I would like to throw that out there as a possibility of kind of softening some of this language.
That's an excellent point, and that's I like the point. But is there kind of, is the semantics we're dealing with, is there any way actually we could change our ordinance to states softness rather than toughness, like restriction, to some of the points that he was just making? We have to go to council, it's an editorial process.
That all has to go.
Go through council.
Yes.
So we could that be recommended, that kind of red line through with the kind of suggested new language, and then get the council to approve it?
Well, we need to go through the water advisory committee and the public works. I mean, if we have to go
Water
through the process,
process.
we have.
Yeah. So you guys, can y'all take that on?
Well, we're going through the process of redoing our drought contingency plan, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that can be a portion of it as we move forward, update that to where it
Okay,
uses the
that'd be
appropriate
great.
language.
Yeah, because it's just kind of like thou shalt not kill. When you know, you ain't want to kill. No. But I really think that's.
Yeah, I think it might help. And we are working on the drought contingency plan. We're working on a lot of different things, but as we move forward, as you mentioned, I think it would help ease some of the tension in our city. So just something to think about.
And before we adjourn, Christine, I saw that you had a picture of the wells on there. Can we see what the tanks are looking like?
So.
Which one do you want to show?
Do the one with all the stop signs.
What's that, 27?
Right on.
29.
29 now?
Mhm.
Is it 29 or 27? No. 29, fine.
I'm sure what's, is that yesterday?
That was yesterday.
That was yesterday. If you'll go to the graph one, it'll show today's. I didn't have a chance to update that
Right.
picture.
And while we're doing that, we talked about the tanks dipping once we went to that stage 2 conservation, we'll just say for speaking. Can I ask, so that dip down, we had some tanks down for maintenance, but then once those came back on, the tanks refilled, is that
Tanks
correct?
down for maintenance?
Wells down for maintenance, I'm
Well,
sorry.
there was a few that were down.
Okay.
There's, so eight got brought back on. And
8 different wells.
No,
Eight.
well, number 8.
Well, number 8,
Yeah.
Well, it got brought back on and it's actually producing right now 104 gallons a minute. And when
I
people
almost got a
buy,
good graph right there.
104. So that helped out tremendously. And then we stopped resting a few and put those back online and then
Okay.
took a few off. So-
Can I ask, how many wells do we have total? I know you sent me these numbers, but I'd like to just make sure that we have them. How many wells total? How many wells are down out of service? And then how many are red?
I got it right here, Chris.
You got it.
49 total wells. Currently with the changes, the excellent plan the water department put together and getting the wells back on, we're pumping 31. Right now, we are resting 10, including the Sand Hill well field. And we have 2 that are in the process of getting the repairs they need to come back online. And then there are 6 that are out of service that have either collapsed or went dry. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, so really, out of the 49, we have 43
Yes,
functioning,
yes,
but we're only using 31 of those.
correct.
So 70% of our well field is being used right now, but we are maintaining the 29 foot now. And then Sand Hill, I think you might have sent me the email. Those don't come online unless the Lime Street tank is operating. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So that's just emergency backup essentially, but those produce 300.
Well, and that's
gallons.
vital for us as a city to have that buffer in the event
Right.
things start getting too low.
Quick question. On two quick questions. On Lime Street. Because I don't know. How often do we move that water? I know it's gotta be moved to,
Yeah, they
Refresh.
follow their appropriate guidelines
I
to
mean-
keep it circulated and refreshed.
okay, so you circulate it within itself?
No, into the
So
system.
you move it into the city periodically? Okay, just, I didn't know how that worked and,
Yeah, so what, we don't want it to get stagnant.
no, absolutely.
Yeah, we recirculate it, it goes in.
Okay, great. Second thing was, I may have just, is there any way? If we've got collapsed and dead wells, is there any way to take them numbers out of it so that there's no confusion? Cause
As far as the number of wells,
yeah,
that's why I have it broken down the way I do and color coded that way, because they are existing wells that are out of service. And now that's important because we still maintain that water rights. And once we get the geophysical survey done, we can go within so many feet of that well to re-drill, if I'm not misspeaking, people that know more than me. Okay.
okay, that, and you clarified why we keep talking about dead, unused wells.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask permission of I'd like to ask the chair of the advisory committee. Have you guys started discussing possible acquisition of new wells?
Acquisition of like agricultural.
Agricultural wells, like the dairies are closing. Someone made a suggestion that we look into that, and that gonna be a part of your report?
It is something that we'd be looking at, possibly. I think we have some other things in play right now, but we need to kind of see how that's gonna work out before we.
Hey,
go to the next step.
We missed that line item, so it's the discussion of the EPCOR.
Okay, well.
They made the recommendation at their meeting to bring that to council for discussion. And so we kind of did the same, but we got a workshop on the 22nd
Yes.
with EPCOR.
I apologize, I have a water problem in my own house right now. I have a water tank problem.
Do you need the water advisory committee to help you out, Oscar?
I do. But anyway,
Well,
thanks. So you are working on an
absolutely.
idea, it's a possibility that's gonna come up.
I think there are multiple avenues being pursued right now to help Portales with water problems.
Okay.
Go ahead.
If I may really quickly,
I missed that.
with the changes that the water department made and the well drillers and the electricians bringing that well on, we started producing just under 1 million gallons more per day
Okay,
on May 2nd is when those
May
readings
2nd.
were read. And that's why when we see that increase in the graph, we're able to compensate for that extra load.
and
That's
also.
70%.
Now, here go a valuation statement that I just cried about. Kudos to the water department for having extra water, the wastewater, to help in the fire. And that's, I don't know, Mendoza, and that's, did we replenish that? I don't know how many gallons we use wastewater, but did we replenish that?
In our potable system?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, I mean, what they've used, it didn't even touch really.
They didn't touch it.
On much, so.
Now, we did begin using
60,000?
reuse water when we started just the operations from the outside using our aerial, and we're still calculating
Now,
how many
that's-
gallons we used.
Or about 60,000 whenever it switched over, right?
Also, there's a rumor going around town that there's a lot of water being thrown into the plow. 1 million gallons a day
It doesn't go into the,
into the tank outside of the water
Oh,
field.
the playa.
The plow.
Sorry, I thought you said plow.
No.
so I'm not savvy on the wastewater side as much as I probably should be, but, it all goes to a permit. So if it doesn't meet, or your TSS or your BODs, they don't meet a certain, milligrams per liter. they cannot discharge that out to the system. They have to waste that.
Okay, so that's where the people get that. I'm glad you said that because there's a misconception that we're just throwing water away. And there's a reason for it.
No, if,
It doesn't meet.
There-
They
there
don't
was-
need to
It
stand-
doesn't meet the standard.
That's not 100% true.
Okay,
Because we were advised that they're dumping 3 million gallons a
3
day
million, not a million.
into the playa to bring down the level of that 11.4 million gallon retention pond. So we are throwing away quite a bit of usable water just to not overfill that one pond. And the primary reason for that, as I understand it, is because we do not have our infrastructure set up to efficiently use that wastewater. It has to go somewhere.
Well,
So to answer your question, yes.
yes. Yes, so then we need to figure out a way to get another tank, right?
there's a lot that we need to look in.
That's a big.
Yeah, we need another way to get a tank.
For me today to look at the reuse.
Oh, good. So that'll be in your, okay.
Yeah, we actually brought in the water experts.
Tell us, yeah,
Right on.
right, that's good.
Can I ask Steve on the softball complex, on that reuse line, are we using that now that Mr. Flynn went and installed that timer? Are they watering those softball complexes? How often? That was a question asked to me this weekend.
Twice a week, so we don't get it too wet for the little kids. Cause they have games all week long,
Right.
so we could increase it once the little ones are done.
Fantastic.
That's funny how these things generate other thoughts. We sometimes talked about changing the methodology, how the city discharge water or sell water. And our permit with the state is saying one thing, and we was talking about changing that. How are we on that? And the statement said we can't sell water, but wastewater, but if we change our permit, we can.
Yes, I don't think it's true.
So I'll help what he's talking about. For the golf course, we had put in a lead application in order to get use to that wastewater in order to help water the golf course. We came into a roadblock because the permits were incorrect to where you cannot sell the wastewater to a private individual, that being the country club. So the issue is now we're all facing the water shortage. So the country club, we're very barely able to keep the wells running. And so that's drying up. And so we're trying to get used to that reuse line. But the issue was the permitting in order to do that was a roadblock for us. And so I think that's what he's.
Yeah, and I think we talked about changing the way the application reads to say that we could sell water to a private entity.
Is it a permit issue or an
It's
application?
it's a permit issue.
A permit between the city and the state or a permit
Between
between,
the
okay.
city and the state. Okay.
Something will have to look into.
And so we've had discussions of how in the world can we keep the golf course running? One of those being, and since this is public works, is that something that the city could take on as a municipal golf course? I'm with you, DJ. But that would be the option to get around the permitting issue, because then it is a public course. I think that's the last route we would go, but I would like it if we can figure out how we can get the permitting issue resolved, and then we'll avoid that.
Feel free to ask the next city manager, sir.
And also, there's a lot of rumors going around about water. We got a well near the golf course. And that well is the Baker's well initially. And the city owned the property. Now I understand that we don't own the well. But even though the well is on the property. The question is, would you guys be willing, will the city be willing to sell the well to the golf course? That's a simple question. And that's gonna come back to you guys in a formal request if we can buy that well.
So the city doesn't own the well.
How can we sell it with our own?
I don't know.
Now, the city does own that well, I believe.
Well, but that's rumor saying we don't. And I think I've heard from not reliable. So I heard from sources that, that we don't own the well. So if the well is owned by the city,
I believe that they own that, because I know that that land was trying to be purchased, and that was a part of the conversation. And so, I do believe that the city owns that.
well, the city is gonna come to the city, and I'm just saying they're gonna come, will you sell the well? Since you don't need it.
We're
Because
probably
they
gonna
put
say
in,
That's the next city
yeah,
manager.
and that's the next city manager.
I got one more question.
Okay.
Chris, do you, y'all said that the capacity increased by 1 million gallons per day,
Just under.
just under. Do you have a capacity number that we're now producing?
Let me pull up that spreadsheet one more time, sir. And I'll get it for you. Just over 3 million.
Just over 3 million per day, okay?
Based on the numbers that were just ran, it is 3,028,320 per day.
Whoa, capable of producing.
Well, based on the numbers I have,
So
that's what we are pumping from all the wells that are in service right now.
that's the demand though. I mean, I don't think we actually know what our full capacity was. If you discharge the wells, I don't know that we have that number for the total system. That is just the demand is 3 point something.
Yeah, and based on the graph, I think that our demand that is being used is pretty close as it stands right now. Because we've leveled out at that 28, 29 foot mark.
So we've got a 3 million gallon per day demand.
Yeah. That's not total capacity of what the system can
No.
produce. We don't have that number.
No,
It's in excess of it. Because we're also resting
10.
28% of our wells.
Okay. But you would always be resting 28% of the wells, right? Roughly?
Right,
Should
but
be
you have
if you
to add
wanna-
that, you have to add that into your total capacity.
Right.
Of the system.
Okay. All right. Any other items?
I apologize for being late, but it was something I couldn't avoid.
It's all right. So we make a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Okay, we're out of here. Thank you, everybody.